Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Shimanaz, author, editor, and translator of 37 books. Welcome to my channel. Today, I will be discussing a very important novel of Indian English literature, and that is The Dark Horse to Terror, written by Shashi Deshpande. Now, Shashi Deshpande is one of the leading novelists of contemporary literature in English, and she is basically considered as a representative woman writer because she has portrayed all the problem and suffering of Indian women, which women in India are facing in their day life, especially the modern educated middle class Indian women. So she in her novel she has highlighted many problem and issue related with the existence of women in the patriarchal society. Now, as we all know, that Indian subcontinent comprise of patriarchal society, whether we women are living in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka. All the society in these countries are basically patriarchal, giving less opportunities to women. Or in our society, everywhere we have to fight to to achieve our position. Sometimes. Due to being a woman, we are not given much opportunities, as we are considered as inferior than our male counterpart. So Shashi Pandey is basically the author of 12 novels, and the most important these novels include The Dark Holes No Terror, That Long Silence, and The Binding Wine. Though she has written other 9 novels also, but these three are the most widely read and worked and researched novel. So all her novels deals with many complex issue related to women's life in the Indian society. But the problem of adjustment with the husband and within the home has been the most consistent theme in all her novel, whether you see her first novel or the last novel. Her works reflect the conflict between the tradition and modernity as manifested within the context of the family. How we women are adjusting ourselves in this tradition society, though we are modern, liberated, independent, but more or less in our society we have to be traditional. We have to adjust with the traditional norms and condition. So the theme of the novel, The Dark Hollows Terror, is the autonomy of the protagonist. This autonomy leads in gaining power of wife, resulting in the self-depression of her husband. Now, she has discussed a complex issue. What happened when a wife is professionally better than the husband? This is something which is independent, educated, and career-oriented women are facing. uh, the central character of in this novel is Sarita, who is very successful in her career, and because of this, her husband is overshadowed because he is not so successful. Uh, Her husband is Manohar, and she is a doctor. Sarita is a doctor. The novel explored the myth of man unquestionable superiority and women being a paragon of all virtues. Now, in our society, men are always considered as superior to women. So, for a man to be inferior in terms of earning, in terms of profession, is very means is not acceptable to him. So because since the dawn of this century, since the beginning of evolution of this world, it is always the women who have been inferior. So when a woman becomes superior to her husband, her male counterpart, it is very difficult to adjust it is very difficult for a man to adjust in this situation. So it is the story of Sarita, who attempt to free herself from the terrifying guilt. And in Sarita, in her childhood, she has experienced a painful incident. For this, she feel painful. She feel guilt, and there is a guilt consciousness in her, in her, which has engulfed her from since her childhood, and she wants to free herself from this terrifying guilt. Which she has been, I quote, she herself reflect, I quote, "The dark holds no terror. The terror are inside us all the time. We carry them within us, and like a traitor, they spring out when we least expect them to screech and mouth." Now, the title of the novel, His Dark Holds No Terror, means this is the quotation which signify the title. Means it is believed that there is no terror in the dark. It is the terror are inside us. So novel opens the novels open with Saru unable to bear the sexual sadness of her husband returning and seeking refuge in her parents' house, give her a chance to review her relationship with her husband, her dead mother, her dead brother Dhruva, and her children Renu and Abhi. So in the beginning of the novel, we see that Saru's mother is death. Saru's mother has died, and so she has to go back to attend the funeral of her mother, and she was not in good term with her mother because she married on her own. She married on her choice. She has chosen a person who was not approved by her family, so there was not a good relationship with her parents, especially her mother. And her mother was very much angry with her since childhood because she was the reason behind her younger brother Dhruv death. So she was the reason behind her younger brother death. Saru has an unhappy childhood due to the indifference attitude of her mother, who loved her son so much more. Now, this is a common thing in our society that sons are giving more love and affection in the family. Especially mothers give more love and affection to their son, respect in term when it compares to the daughters. And this was what the case with Sarita also. Her mother used to love her son very much, and she was not giving she used to not give so much of love, care, and affection to Saritas, who was nicknamed Saru. Later on, even though she marries a man of her choice, he, because of an inferiority complex caused by Saru's professional success, becomes a sexual sadist. Now, actually, when a person doesn't get love from his family, he or she wants to get love from um, uh, outside the family. Means he she wants to choose a person who can love her, who can fulfill the gap in his her life which has become because of the indifference attitude experience in the family. Sarita, because she did not achieve much love and affection in her home. She wanted to have a husband or has a lover or husband who would give her much love and affection, but she was not successful. She dreamed that she will get love from Manohar. Though in the beginning there was much love in their life, in their relationship, but slowly, gradually, it declined. Saru battles throughout her life with the stark realities. Uh, she revolts against her family to marry of own choice, but marriage failed to provide her the love or the freedom that she has hoped for. It does not give her emotional support, autonomy, and self realization which she wanted in the marriage in her later life. The problem arises because Saru, the protagonist, is ambition and want to outshine her others and achieve success. For this, she sometimes adopt other means also. Like she was very much friendly with Boozy. Her socializing with him, he was a fairy godfather to her. Uh, this is a calculative move in that direction. Soon their relationship reaches a stage where Boozy helps her financially to set up her own practice in a posh area. This account of rapid climb to position and status. Both Saru and Boozy have their vested interest in sustaining such a relationship. Although there is nothing physical about their relationship, it gives rise to a misconception in Manu's mind, and Saru, who has slowly been filed with a loathing for her husband, does nothing to placate or reassure him. Rather, she left him believe the obvious. So now this is something which is negative on her part of Sarita, because for to climb success, she was doing something which was unfair, which was something negative. Means she was using feminine vile to reach success. Means these are some shortcuts to success. Even at the inauguration of her consulting room, where Boozy flaunt her by his side, opening openly before the invitees, she feels more resentful toward her husband than to him. I quote, in Sarita's word, could feel the stares. Everyone except Manu's looks at us, and I should have hated him then. Not Manu, for he has done nothing then, for which I could not hate him. But this attractive, ravishing, masculine man who was doing it this deliberately, attracting attention to the two of us. But funnily enough, it was not him I hated. It was Manu for doing nothing. This man, no, I could not hate him knowing what I did about him. That behind the facade of aggressive, virile masculinity, there was nothing at all. So, unquote. These are the words of Sarita. She was giving importance to Boozy, and because of this, Boozy was very comfortable with her. Means there was some intimacy in their relationship, and seeing all this, Manu was doing nothing because Manu had realized that this through this Sarita has got success in her life, and so here this showed the weakness of Manu, though Sarita was also at fault, but this is something uh, is considered as more on part of Manu, because seeing all this, he was not behaving anything, he was not responding anything. The protagonist Sarita is able to come closer to other man behind her husband because of her unsatisfactory relation with him. The other man is able to understand her better than her own husband and provide an emotional support to her. Instead of a guilt sense of guilt, she exhibit a cool detachment. Simultaneously, this analytical capacity helps her to view her experience in a proper perspective. Saru scoffed at the romanticized concept of love and to think about it a big fraud. So now though they were romantically involved in each other, Sarita and Manohar, her husband Manohar, but after so many years, after so many years of their marriage, now she realized there is no romance in her life, in her marriage. So she is able to rationalize her friendship with Tuzi. So she is not feeling guilt. Uh, because of on the relationship which she is having with Boozy. This is a step forward toward from the traditional concept of woman's good conduct and brings Saru closer to an independent identity for himself. Now in our society, women are considered as considered to be very virtuous. They should be chaste, means they should not look upon any other men except their husband. But this is something that Sharita is going beyond the society. Sarita is breaking the norms which society had set on a woman. In the portrayal of Sarita in The Dark Holes No Terror, Deshpande had tried to show the innermost self of modern woman who wants liberty and freedom in all aspects of her life, and freedom to make decision regarding her own body, means my body, my choice. This is the concept. In this context, an independent, autonomous woman become an anomaly. In her quest for self-realization, Sarita strives to carve a niche for herself outside traditional, respective, and familiar surrounding. This is not acceptable to her husband, Manu, who resent and dread, like being whittled down by female domination. Saru, being professionally better than him, has to face sexual brutality. Her husband is consumed by an inferiority complex, which manifests itself in the form of sexual sadism. Earlier in her life, Saru takes admission in the college with the dream of economic independence and assurance for a better future. In the college, she meets Manohar and falls in love with him. Now, this is something which every girl's dream of, to have have a person in her life who is like a hero type, like a shining knight in armor, who can give her full love and support, which she dreams of, which is not present in her life. So when she meet Manohar, who is famous as Manu, and is few years senior to her, and quite popular in the college, as what every Indian or every woman, girl in the world dream of, to have a hero like boy in her life. He's not only good in his academic performance, but is also the secretary of Literary Association, the Debating Union, and Dramatic Society. Above all, that he is a budding writing and promising poet. So in the beginning scene, that Manohar will have a very charismatic career, or he will be very successful in her career, and at this juncture of life, uh, at this point he was superior, considered as superior than Saru. Saru is a newly student, a new girl who has joined us college. She does not have any confidence. She's just not has she has not established herself in the society or in the college, and he is Manohar is already established in the college. So he was very famous in the college. So for Sarita, meeting him and having an affair with him was something very big. Sarita is introduced by him by her friend. At their first meeting, she remained totally acknowledged by the by the handsome Manu. In the first meeting, he did not notice her because she was simple. She did not had that charm and that style and all which Manu wanted, or which boys like in girl. But after many meetings, they became friends, and a few years later, they got married. She marries Manu in spite of a strong condemnation from her mother because he did not belong like her to her Brahmin family. Now, Sarita belonged to a high class family, and Manu belonged to a family which was much superior and much inferior them in terms of caste. Saru's decision to marry a man of her choice is a movement towards independence. By doing so, she thinks she will achieve happiness in life. But these are all her thinking, and after so many years, it comes out to be a totally fake thing. But she is mistaken, and years later, she bitterly thinks that if her mother had not been so cruel to her from her childhood, she would have not taken the step of marrying Manu and putting herself in a miserable condition. So she blames her mother because she did not receive love from her mother. She wanted to find love outside. So she was overwhelmed by having Manu in her life in her beginning, not only because he gives her love and security, a need not unfulfilled since her childhood. She places him higher on the pedestal than any other person in her life because uh, is through since her childhood nobody gave her love and affection which Manu gave her, and the Manu gave her importance which she had not received in her family. So this was the thing that she was very much impressed by Manu. In the beginning of her marriage with Manu, she enjoyed his company because she's merely a student and he the breadwinner of the family. At that time, there is love and happiness in her life. This becomes something vice versa later, and so in the beginning, there was love and happiness in her life as she considered herself to be the luckiest woman on her earth. But all this happening in happiness is short lived. As long as she is just a medical student and her husband, the breadwinner of the family, there is peace and harmony at home. But the problem begins when she starts establishing herself as a doctor and gaining recognition. Gradually, people in the neighborhood comes to know her. They recognize her, and started giving her attention whenever she used to meet anybody from her neighborhood. They always greeted her, and her husband was ignored. So he started feeling inferior. This is why this is something attitude of a man in a patriarchal society. Sarita, on the other hand, felt exhilarated with her rising status and dignity in the society. She is no longer a small boat towed by a large ship. Instead, she was a larger ship herself. With this success in her profession, her marriage began to crumble. So far, I quote, he had been the young man and I his bride. Now I was the lady doctor and he was my husband, unquote. These lines are from the novel. Thus, the role of husband wife undergoes a reversal. In contrast to the earlier time, she is now economically stronger than him, earning more money than her husband and having a position better than her husband. This is not acceptable for Manu, who belonged to a traditional patriarchal society. His personality as a husband changes from an ideal romantic hero to a morose, uncomfortable, resentful husband. Means he becomes frustrated seeing this, seeing he becomes inferiority complex. As Saru gains power, Manu loses it. He feels embarrassed and humiliated when people ignore him and pay attention to his wife instead. Saru described the situation. I quote in Saru's word: "When we walked out of the room, there was nods and smiles, murmurs, greeting, and namaste, but they were all for me. Uh, Only for me. He was almost totally ignored, and so the esteem with which I was surrounded made me inches taller and him inches shorter." Unquote. These are the words of Sarita in the novel on page 42. Interestingly, now Sarita owns attitude toward Sarita's own attitude towards Manu changes because she also started feeling herself superior and him inferior. Earlier, she was happy and satisfied with with his salary, but now, as a career woman, she wants to improve their living standard because this is something which is necessary in our society. Means if you're earning, you have to have a good living standard. The life which they are living seems shabby to her. Even her attitude towards sex changes because of the brutal behavior of her husband. She begins to think sex as a dirty and the experience terrifying and insulting. As she recoils from Manu's lovemaking, he takes her rejection of self sex as a rejection of himself. His already damaged ego become more aggravated and in turn manifests itself in the bedroom at night when he sexually brutalizes his wife. Saru thinks bitterly how her relationship of a man and a woman in marriage become a monstrously unbalanced equation, lopsided, unequal, and impossible. Unquote. So all these things are going in Sarita's mind again and again, and she was tormented, and she was always trying to find the reason behind Manu's sadistic behavior. Although Sarita has gradually, as Sarita's social and financial status grows, in contrast, Manu continued as an underpaid lecturer in college. In reverse proportion with a gain in power and importance, her happiness at home become less and less. In society, a man is expected to have a higher income than his wife, and if this doesn't happen, and the man is economically inferior than his wife, then he has to listen criticism of people everywhere, where in his family, in relatives, in society, and everywhere. And this is the experience. This is what, and this turn out to be something against his wife. He tries to show anger against his wife. This is what Sarita experienced now. Although Saru has achieved economic independence, her pride is miserable. Overwhelmed by the duties of housewife and daughter of indoor and outdoor, she expresses her desire to leave her medical practice. So when she has realized that uh, her job, her profession is the reason behind the uneven behavior, the her about reason behind her suffering. So she wanted to leave her job, but Manu is not in this favor. He say oppose it. Though his problem is located in Saru professional success, but the luxuries and which they are experiencing, which they are having in their day to day life, will not be possible with the income which Manu is having. So they will lose these luxury. Manu's attitude to the material comfort and his sense of personal inadequacy is representative of the mindset of the men in our modern age. Men want their wife to earn, but like them to keep under control. Now, this is something which is one of the issue of the contemporary women, that their husband want them to earn, but they don't want their wife to be independent. They want them to be subjugated, and they want to control them. They want them to be a less inferior creature and inferior being at home. At this juncture in her life, Saru hears the news of her mother's death. Unable to bear the situation at home any longer, she goes back to her parents' house, a place where she has vowed never to go back. Because when she decided to marry Manohar, there was a clash between her and her parents, especially her mother. And then she had taken a vow to never come back. But she was so much frustrated in her life that she wanted to have some relaxing time at home, at her parents' home. The homecoming helps her to sort out her problem, to analyze her life, to review and re examine her crisis, which she even discusses with her father. Now, this is something very big, because such issues are daughters in our society don't discuss with their father. Means top issues related to sex but Sarita discusses, because she thought there is no other choice. The novel, like The Dark Holes No Terror, in which Saru explored question like who is the victim and who is the predator? Are those roles so distant, so separate, or are we each of us? Now she is thinking whether she is a victim, or her husband is a victim, whether she is the reason behind her husband behavior. So in the end, the novel ends with Sarita realizing that she has to communicate with her husband. She has to talk all this matter, and then she can find out some solution. So this is a novel in which Shashi Deshpande has discussed marital rape, which Shashi Deshpande is one of the, she is the first, not one of the first, but she is the first novelist to discuss this issue of marital rape, which has no other novelist has discussed earlier. And in this novel, she has shown the dilemma and problem of a working woman who is professionally better than her husband, and what happened when a woman is professionally better than her husband, and what her husband experiences, and what is her behavior towards a wife who is professionally better than her, and being an inferior creature, being an inferior being in a family in terms of professionalism. What is a man's attitude? Is this justified? Why not man and woman should be equal, no matter who is professionally better, but they should have a conducive relationship. And this, not only husband and wife should understand, but the society as well has to understand, because it is a society which pressurizes individual, and then individual behave in such a way. So I hope this lecture will be liked by all, and this is something very this novel is very important, and this issue is also very important, vital issues of vital importance to discuss. Thank you.